Join me
All
right
right.
now on Kumite TV is undefeated heavyweight prospect Alton Meeks. What's going on, man?
Nothing too much, man. Just living the dream. How about you?
Same old thing. Me too. Trying to.
Yeah.
Now, you've been an athlete your whole life, man. Wrestling, football. But were there any other sports you were playing growing up?
Mainly just wrestling and football, but being younger, played everything: soccer, basketball, baseball. But once I got to about 14 or 15 years old, it was all wrestling and football.
Did you like any of the other sports, or were the other sports just like it's nothing compared to wrestling and football?
I really liked pretty much every sport I played. I love basketball and baseball, but I excelled in wrestling and football, so that's just what I stuck with.
Definitely. Well, wrestling, pure wrestling, if you compare that to MMA wrestling, what key difference do you see between the two?
The key difference is guys can kind of stay away from you in MMA. And wrestling, you'll get hit with stalling if you're running away. And the other thing is obviously the cage. There's no walls on a wrestling mat, so guys, I have to really learn how to use that to my advantage.
Does it make it easier for you with that wall in MMA?
At first, no. I had to get used to it, but now that I know how it kind of works, some guys are really good at using the wall, but I think now it's becoming more of an advantage. And I kind of like wall wrestling now.
Was there something intriguing about mixed martial arts, or was it just a natural progression for you to get into the sport?
I really didn't have much of a plan of getting into MMA. One of my wrestling coaches from high school was working with a guy that was in the UFC named Alex Nicholson. Now he's in the PFL, and he contacted me. He said, "Hey, man, you want to come in and just help this guy out with wrestling?" I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll come in." And him and some guys in there said, "Hey, you should think about fighting." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." They said, "All right, we got one this weekend." So I just kind of showed up, and I'd never thrown a punch, never done any of that before, but just showed up that weekend for a fight.
Talk about that first fight. Going in, like you said, you never thrown a punch. I think you never even did any like submission grappling at all, right? Talk about
No,
that experience.
it was pretty surreal. That's pretty scary walking to that cage, and I kind of remember just thinking like, why am I doing this? Like, what in the world have I gotten myself into? And then they lock the cage, and it's like, all right, I'm not getting out of here. Like, there's no way out. I gotta kind of fight my way out. So, but there's no real feeling like that in the world. I'm sure jumping out of airplanes is real exhilarating and stuff, and that's probably a lot of adrenaline. But for me, getting in the cage, that was the craziest thing I've ever done in my life, and I was kind of hooked.
Has Alex Nicholson been with you ever since?
I've trained with Alex a lot since then. The only times, I don't train with him and some of the other guys, Jacare Souza's in town, and we've got Rodolfo Vieira, who he fights in it's ACB, but now it's changed names, I think, but he's a five-time world champion in jiu-jitsu. I went down to South Florida to help Vulcan Ozdemir get ready for the Cormier fight, and I would go back and forth to Colorado Springs for wrestling, just training for that. But other than that, yeah, it's just been, Alex has been one of my main training partners here.
Going down to Hard Knocks, training with guys like Vulcan, going to the Olympic, going to Colorado Springs for wrestling, and you get exposure to all these like high level guys, especially in MMA. Did that give you more confidence, going into your fights?
Yeah, I think so. Being on the regional scene, um, you're not going to fight anybody like, you're sparring Vulcan and Matt Mitrione and Luke Rockhold during the week. And then, you step in the cage. It's like, yeah, this guy is not going to be anything near that level. So, you've been tested by the best. And, it gave me a supreme confidence, I guess, when I would walk into the cage.
Yeah, on the regional scene, your fights haven't lasted very long. They're
No,
they're
no.
pretty quick as your professional fights. If you learned anything from those fights, what would that be?
My first fight, I kind of, stayed back, and that one lasted a minute 50 or something like that. But good things don't always come to those who wait, but you also don't want to rush in. So you you kind of got to find that middle ground. I think that's what I found is you don't want to rush in and leave yourself exposed, but the way I fight and the way I wrestle and everything, is I like to put a lot of pressure on people and keep the pace. So that's what I've learned so far.
You're training out of Fusion X-Cel in Florida. How did you end up with that burgeoning gym?
In Orlando, you kind of all the gyms kind of bounce around, and we all train together. Sometimes we're at American Top Team Orlando, and I train at Tough as Nails, American Top Team East Orlando. Everybody is pretty cool about hey, come on over, you help my guys, and we'll help you. So Fusion's definitely the hot spot. I mean, Jacare is there, Alex is there all the time, Mike Perry. So that's kind of where everybody's kind of gravitated towards. Julien Williams does a really good job of coaching everybody up over there, and there's a lot of good partners, so that's kind of just where I've gravitated towards as well.
Yes, talk about the coach, Julien Williams. He's becoming a known figure in the MMA community, almost coming out of nowhere. How helpful has he been to, elevating or evolving your MMA game?
He's been very helpful. He's a very, very good grappler. Julien is one of the most underrated fighters probably in the world. He's on 10 or 11 fight win streak, finishing everybody. He's been extremely helpful. He's a good partner to roll with as well, even though he's smaller. He's really strong, and I mean, he's a black belt, so he's super knowledgeable. And he's always there to kind of push you as well. I don't always want to go 5-minute rounds sparring or something like that, but he's always there making sure everybody's going hard.
As an up-and-coming guy, what is your daily grind like nowadays?
I was working doing construction, block masonry, so I would be up at 5 a.m. and I'd go to work all day, get off, go train, maybe get a lift in, and then be home at 9:30 or 10 at night and do it all over again. Since the Contender series and since I signed the contract, I'm no longer working. A typical day, probably it's either 2 skill sessions and 1 lift, or 3 skill sessions in a day. And I try, a lot of times it'll go to 2 hours, but I try and get it to hour 15, hour 30 minutes a session. That way I'm not really depleting my energy systems in one training session.
Contender series, June 18th, you're facing Yorgan de Castro. Was he a name you've heard of before?
No, I don't really pay too much attention. I watch UFC, Bellator. I have one of my good friends is now on ONE FC, Troy Worthen, so I've started to pay attention to a lot of stuff over there in Asia, and that's kind of growing and getting really big. But as far as the regional scene, I haven't really paid too much attention to it. Since I found out that's what I'm fighting, I've watched some film. He's good on his feet. He's got really heavy hands. He throws a lot of heavy right hands, a lot of overhands. So, but that's a pretty typical, game plan and strategy for a guy that's, he's probably a little bit shorter on the shorter side for a heavyweight. I think he's right around 6 feet tall, so that's pretty typical of that body type.
What type of performance do you believe will get the attention of Dana White and you that contract?
Just coming in doing what I normally do, putting pressure on people. I think I'm not going to try and do anything that's not in my character. I do stand up. I have good stand up, and I train with some of the best guys in the world. But anything can happen in a fight, especially at the heavyweight division. I mean, it really only takes one punch. So there's no secret to what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in, and I'm not going to let him get that opportunity. I'll put pressure on him, and I'm going to go for a takedown, go for ground and pound, and that's just what I do, and everybody knows that. So see if you can stop it.
When you do enter the UFC, what do you think separates you from most of the heavyweights in that division?
I think that I have a rare athleticism that comes with wrestling. A lot of guys in America, if they're my size and they're a good athlete, they're playing college football and they're going on to try and play in the NFL. If that doesn't work out, they're not going to try and learn a whole new sport and do MMA. I just happened to grow up in Iowa, and I've been wrestling since I was 4 or 5, and got done playing football, just decided to wrestle again, got on the Olympic ladder. So I think I have a unique skill set that nobody else in the UFC really has. I mean, Stipe is obviously a great athlete and a wrestler. He played some baseball in college and things like that, but I think the heavyweight division is getting a lot older as well, and a lot of these guys are kind of on the way out right now.
As a former football player, now making your way to the UFC, you have expressed interest in fighting Greg Hardy. What are your thoughts on that controversial figure?
I don't know the guy. I mean, he may be a super nice guy. I have no idea. I've heard people say he's super cool. I don't know. I have no idea. I've never met him, so it's hard to say. But I do know about his past. Obviously, everybody knows about it. And I mean, it draws a lot of attention to the sport, whether that's good or bad. There's a lot of negative attention on him, and all for the right reasons. I mean, there should be. Hopefully he's doing the right things to correct his past. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I would love to fight him. I think he's kind of getting babied along in the UFC and kind of getting fed some fights and things that they're trying to build him up. And me personally, I don't really think they're MMA. It's mixed martial arts, right? And it's there should be more honor in it, and I don't think that's very honorable to try and build someone like that. But like I said, I mean, I'm hoping he's righting his wrongs and doing the things he needs to do. But at the end of the day, that's definitely a fight I want.
I saw that you set 2020 as the year that you will become UFC heavyweight champion. Why 2020?
Well, I was wrestling for the Army, so I was 2020. I was just after the Olympics. I was going to start wrestling, and I got into a bad car accident. And I'm currently being discharged from the military. I ended up fracturing a vertebrae, so that whole thing kind of got derailed without the military and things like that. Just financially, there's no way for me to continue wrestling, or there is a way, but it wouldn't make sense financially. It would set me back a lot. So I've started fighting already, and hopefully 2020 I'll be in the UFC and several fights in, and well on my way.
All right, well, it all starts on June 18th, Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series in Las Vegas. Thank you, Alton, for your time, and good luck on your future, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm Alton Meeks. You can find me on Instagram at Alton_Meeks, Twitter at Murda, MURDA_Meeks. My sponsors are the Josh the Man Foundation, Lance Maxwell Plumbing, and Thrasher Hemp Chews. I want to say thank you for the support, and thank you to all my teammates and coaches and everybody that supports me.